Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Oak Crit D&D. We're going to jump back into another god in the Voyager's Guide to Ravion document. Uh, the last time that we did this, we covered the Archivist's kind of homebrew deity. This is going to be another homebrew deity called the Bonfire Guard. The Bonfire Guard is a little bit more interesting. While appearing dwarvish, he isn't necessarily a specific god of the dwarves. Like I said, within the Pantheon and Creation Mythos video, these gods don't necessarily go by race, they go by ideal, they go by kind of otherwise their focus. They don't necessarily care if their worshippers are one thing or another, and they don't have any particular following across anybody one race. Uh, so this, as the Bonfire Guard does appear to be a dwarf, there is quite a few different cultures that worship him as well. So the Bonfire Guard is a good deity of warriors and watchmen. The Bonfire Guard is a deity whose purpose and charge is to be the first line of defense against the evils of the dark. It is thought that the Bonfire Guard was the deity that stood guard at the edge of the Shadowfell to keep out the hordes of night from entering onto the material plane and terrorizing innocent lives. The Bonfire Guard appears as a sturdy dwarven man wielding a great warhammer said to be carved with the names of all the innocent lives of the material plane that exists and that ever will exist. This master craftsman level of forgery has been highly regarded as a beautiful and formidable weapon of justice. The Bonfire Guard is a warrior by nature, being less so of a god of war than a god of defense. He is regarded as a servant and stalwart shield capable of battle, but treating a full-on offensive as a last resort. The worshippers of the Bonfire Guard worship in appreciation and devotion rather than function. The Bonfire Guard is not a demanding god by any means. He offers his protection to those mortals that may need it freely. Those who need his help are granted it, and in return he asks nothing but that those that follow his example and pledge to serve him, he recognizes as guardsmen, endowing them with the power and responsibility to protect those around them. The Bonfire Guard stands in stark opposition to all beings that prowl the night at the edge of the firelight, but he specifically hates the creatures of the Shadowfell. These creatures of sorrow and pain skulk around in the dark in an effort to carry it with them to slay innocents to create even more shadowy pockets. It should be, so that's my typo, within which they may hide. The tenets of the Bonfire Guard are simple: guard the flame and those that shelter around its light, and eliminate the forces of darkness wherever they may hide. These tenets have guided his loyal to many victories against the forces of the night, but still, they stand a careful watch, knowing that the threat will unerringly remain. So we'll break that down a little bit. Basically, he is the last line of defense. He is the Night's Watch. He is the wall protecting the forces of good against the forces of evil. He doesn't care who follows him. He doesn't need a reward. He does this because he loves his creations. He wants them to have the freedom of life and choice. He, serving as this like paragon of what you would imagine the perfect guardsman and watchman to be, hopes to inspire others to do the same. He is a god. His focus is function, and focus of function is his prerogative of this defense. His loyal followers that follow him as closely as to take up the mantle of being defenders in their own right, work to stop Shadowfell influence on the material plane and abroad otherwise. If nothing else, these people will pretty much stand along the border of the Shadowfell, if they could, to protect and the rest of the world from incursion. Like this is said before as well, he is capable of a full-on confrontation, but knows that sometimes the best offense can be a good defense. If he were to slip and miss something as he runs headlong into the forces of evil, he might win the battle, but lose the war. That's kind of the mentality that he and his loyalist followers have. It is better to win the war, and the war is never ending. So you'd better prepare. You'd better be ready when it does finally come. And even after that wave finally comes, there will be another. So you stay ready. You have to always be prepared for something to come out from the dark at you. So that's kind of his whole focus. He is a defender. He loves the mortal realm. He loves the mortals that live there. He doesn't necessarily care that he's been locked out of paradise for his own benefit, that he's relegated to the outer planes, so much as that he's frustrated at the fact that he can't fulfill his purpose personally. In the olden days, before he was relegated, he was literally the god at the edge of the Shadowfell. The Shadowfell, being an inner plane, is now off limits to him personally, and he can only serve as this remote general that has his mortal followers putting themselves at risk, something he is not happy with. So he would, by all means, love to bridge the gap and take up his post once again. Inspire more people to take up the post with him and serve, but to be there himself so that they never have to face an actual threat. So, while he would technically fall under the Dominion Gods pack and their association, he isn't necessarily an evil god. He wants to be able to return, but he is not going to punish the mortal world for locking them out. There's nothing that can be done about that. So he wants to return for his post and his post alone. So that's it for the Bonfire Guard at this point. If you have any questions or concerns or just thoughts, definitely leave details down in the comments. We'll see kind of how everything plays out with the different ciphers that I have in the videos. Leave whatever theories you might have for those in the comments as well. Otherwise, subscribe and hit the bell if you want to be notified when we do post videos. We'll be trying to put them out fairly regularly, so we'll have them available for you whenever we kind of actually get them up. It'll be beneficial if you actually have the notification, though. So, with all that said and done, I want to thank you all for tuning back in to this more world-building type episode. Keep in mind, as always, it doesn't take much to make a difference out in the real world, so be the difference that you want to see. Thank you once again, and I will see all of you next time.